Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking to the Max. This is a podcast in which myself, Jude Hall, is joined
Um,
by my little brother Max. Say hello, Max.
Hi everyone, I'm Max, I'm 14 years old.
And we're just going to be discussing many topics, really. We've got a lot of common interests, haven't we, Max?
Yeah, films, TV shows, video games, theme
Theme
parks.
parks, yeah, big one. Um, we love theme parks. Football, maybe
um,
not. Max isn't the biggest
I
fan.
think that I think that won't be discussed on the
Mhm.
podcast.
Just before we get too deep into this, Max, I just want to remind you this is for family ears. So please, I know that you've not got the cleanest of language sometimes, but please try and keep it PG if you can.
It's going to be PG, family friendly
Family
content.
friendly, yeah. So be careful, 'cause I know what you like. uh, so yeah, me and Max are brothers. So we thought the best place to start for this podcast would be to talk about our childhood. So Max, can you remember your earliest memory?
Um, it's a funny one actually because it isn't a positive memory, but my first memory is falling down the stairs.
Falling down when was this?
Can you not remember? I think mum and dad were doing like DIY or something, and then they forgot to put in like something. I tripped on something.
Yeah.
I can't remember my
What?
first memory, and I fell downstairs.
I did not know that. Oh, I didn't. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't that.
Probably explains a few things, to be honest.
Explained a few things. Yeah.
Things.
What
Well,
about nursery? Because yeah, you went to quite a few nurseries, didn't you? Me and Morgan both went to just one fixed nursery, but you seemed to go to like two or three, didn't you?
I transitioned from. I was a naughty
Yeah.
nursery.
You got
Um,
kicked out of all of them for being too bad.
I did escape one of them.
Yeah, you escaped one of
Apparently,
them, didn't you?
I escaped and ended up in the car park.
That's just you rejected it. But yeah, so
All I remember is just sitting and wait at the door when the parents arrive, just
yeah,
wanting to go
wanting
home.
to go home. Yeah, I can vouch for that.
Me,
I was
like
the same.
the other kids, just sat waiting.
Just sat waiting. Yeah, because it used to be boring. Um, but
Yes.
yeah, obviously, if you don't know us, we are a family who have had a lot of pets in the past. I think pets are quite a big thing of kind of growing up in a house. If you've got pets to look after. Um,
Yeah.
so Max, do you want to talk about some of the pets we've had in the past?
Um, Georgie the dog who kept on running away.
Yeah. Oh, there's a funny
Like
story about
like
that, isn't there?
like me in nursery.
You're in nursery. Right, so we had this dog Georgie, and she once apparently, well, she used to escape a lot and just run off, and all of a sudden we'd be like, "Hold on, where's Georgie? She's jetted it. She's not in the house anymore." Um, and there was times where for days she'd go missing, and we'd have to put posters out and we'd have to look for her, and then eventually she would come back. um,
I
but
don't even
yeah,
remember Georgie very well, to be honest.
can you not? Well, you were very young, to be fair. I remember when we found out that she was poorly and everyone was crying, and because you were too young at the time, you were just there laughing at us all, just like happy. And we were like, "No, Max, this is not the time."
I was like, Morgan, can you help me with Lego Star Wars?
uh, but yeah, back onto the story. I remember my mum and dad telling us once, they were like, "Oh, where's Georgia? She's gone." And they'd been looking for her around Killamarsh where we lived for, I think it was a couple of hours or something like that. Anyway, they got back home, and then all of a sudden they looked out the window, and she was just strutting past. She was walking past the window, just taking herself on a nice little walk, just walking on the
She was
path.
basically a cat.
But
She was basically a cat.
yeah, like a cat, just gone off for a walk just by herself. But yeah, so that was Georgie. I think she was a Jack Russell. I feel like she might have been mixed crossed with something else, but I know there was Jack
Yeah.
Russell
Mum and Dad got her a year after their wedding.
there. A year after the wedding, yeah. So obviously
Yeah.
she was around before us, really. So we grew up with her. And then they had Meg as well, which was Nan's dog, but kind of
Nan
lived
got.
with us.
Do you know this story? Nan got Meg for Christmas.
Yeah, I've heard about this. Apparently, she just came running through into the living room, and Nan was like
No
a bit excited. And then she turned into a right fat barrel, didn't she, Meg?
Yeah. She was like a massive Zach. I remember.
Yeah,
Meg, I think they were the same size as Ellie and Zach, but I just remember them being like Labrador size.
yeah. I
But
remember them being bigger than they were because we were little. But can you remember? Well, I say you remember. You just mentioned Ellie and Zach, who are Zach's. We've still got Zach. We had Ellie and Zach together after Georgie and Meg. Ellie is no longer with us, I'm afraid, but still got Zach. And I would say he's going strong, but I don't think he is really. Is he, Max?
Limping. He's
Limping.
limping everywhere.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He's a funny dog.
He's a funny dog. He only uses 3 of his legs. He just literally, the other leg just floats.
He's a goofy dog. He's a goofy dog.
It's
And the woman,
goofy.
and
Yeah.
the woman who had him before us, she was needy. Well, she was like, "Oh, send us a picture of Zach, please."
Yeah, she was really strange, wasn't she? Because like when we went to buy
It's
Zach,
strange. It's a bit
yeah,
like overprotective of Zach.
yeah. We went to buy Zach. We went in. I went into our house to get his toys. 'Cause he had loads of toys, and the house was tip. Not gonna lie. Sorry if you're listening. I don't know how you would be listening, to be honest. But if you are somehow, I'm sorry. But your house was a bit of a mess. And that's coming from a university student. So, yeah, I got all his toys. He was a bit reluctant to come with us, but after a nice night's sleep, he was fine. He come running through into mum and dad's bedroom.
Remember the noises he was making?
Yeah, he was like howling and
Like, oh.
he weren't happy at first, but he was buzzing. The next morning, he was loving life. We got rid of all his toys because he never used
He
them.
wasn't bothered. Don't feel bad for Zach because he didn't care.
No, he didn't.
He wasn't bothered.
No. So yeah.
It was a Jack Russell cross. Well, he is a Jack Russell crossed with a Lakeland.
Lakeland, yeah. And Ellie was a pastel crossed with a Jack Russell. So apparently, mum and dad are massive fans of Jack Russells. We had bearded dragons. I had a gecko. Funny story about my gecko is we went away on holiday, and we left it with our little cousin Jess, who may be listening to this. And I've been told the story. I don't know how true it is. Apparently, Jess was playing with the little gecko. And
all by accident, let's add.
Yeah. All by accident, I'm sure.
You must have been like 5 or 6.
Yeah, she won't have been very old. And the gecko jumped off, tried to run away, and she tried to grab it by its tail, and its tail came off. It detached from its skin. As geckos, they can do that because they just can. And then the gecko no longer had a tail.
What's the gecko called?
JJ, named after a Wednesday player. But yeah, the gecko, he had a stump instead of a tail. He had like a little, it looked really weird, but he was fine. It was happy as a Larry. And can you remember, Max, the fish, the Oscar fish that we had?
Yeah, I do remember the Oscar fish. I also remember the little shark fish.
Shark fish. Well, funny thing about the Oscar fish is that we had it in a fish tank full of other little fish. And I don't know if you know what Oscar fish are, like these really round, really, like, we've got a really nice pattern on them.
It was like black and purple.
I think it was orange, but I think it was mixed actually. But they're quite aggressive, and basically it ate all the rest of the other fish. And then it was left in the tank by itself. We couldn't put any more fish in with it because it ate them all. Every time we opened the lid of the fish tank, it'd try and jump out and get us. We once fed it a couple of spiders. It ate spiders. I don't think a fish other than that one has ever ate spiders ever.
I think we had many, but
we had loads of fish, but that one stands out in my mind because I think we had it for the longest, and it was hard to feed it because you had to be like, it had to be a military mission to like someone held the tank open. You had to quickly chuck the food in. It was scary.
another funny story about a fish, actually. I think it was bonfire night. Morgan went to, you know this story, I think
Yeah.
you know. Morgan went to like a fair or something with his mates,
Yeah.
and he came back with a goldfish.
Goldfish. He's won a
He said,
goldfish.
"Oh, Mum, buy me a fish tank. I've got a, we got a goldfish."
You know what happened on the way Dad went to buy a fish tank, and his car broke down or his tyre burst or something. He had trouble with his car. So, but anyway, moving on from
There's also, wait,
Uh,
one more thing.
yeah,
I remember I got a really floppy fish that
Floppy
refused
fish.
to get in this bag. This was a while back. I think I must have been like 7 or something, and I called it Magikarp. Wait,
yeah,
no, not Magikarp. Dumbledore, and
yeah.
it was like weak, useless fish, and I called it Dumbledore, and I think it died in like the first day of getting it or something.
Oh. So another big thing, obviously, when you're growing up, something that potentially loses its magic as you get older is Christmas, the Christmas holidays. I've got a question. Have you got a top 5? It doesn't have to be in any order. Just 5 Christmas presents that were not necessarily the most expensive, not necessarily the best, but your
Just
favourite presents.
in my head. All right.
It can be something that you've used a lot, maybe that you didn't think you would use a lot, or something that you was really excited for when you got.
This could take a while.
Yeah, well, what you're thinking, I'll say some of mine. I don't think I can think of 5. That's quite bad. But I've had some good Christmas presents. I remember one year, me and Morgan both wanted. I think we wanted to like kind of club together, and we wanted a PlayStation 3. Obviously, very expensive at the time. It was pretty new at the time as well. And I also wanted a quad bike as well. Yeah, I don't quite know where that idea came from. But I remember I really wanted a quad bike. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. 'Cause it's quite cool to have go out and ride on that. Obviously not on the road. Because again, I was quite little. Can't remember what age this was, but yeah, I feel like I don't have a clue what age this was at all. But I weren't too old. And yeah, wanted a mini quad bike. Basically, what we do on a Christmas is when we get up, our mum and dad have we all have a stocking each. They fill the stocking with like just like
Chocolate.
yeah.
The best. The most, I think there'd be like one DVD, a
Yeah.
new toothbrush.
Yeah, just like little gimmicky stuff, just little stuff where it's quite nice to open while you wait for everyone else to get up and get ready. And then obviously,
to come round, Nan's round, and we all open our presents.
Yeah, so we wait for Nan to come round, and then we go down into the living room. We open all our presents. And on this particular Christmas, when I wanted a quad bike, we gone into the living room. We opened all our presents. We'd got a PlayStation 3, and now I remember distinctly before Christmas, my mum and dad going, well, you can either have one or the other. It's PlayStation 3 or the quad bike. You and Morgan can both share one of them, but you're not having them both together. I really wanted a quad bike.
That does match both of your personalities, because you were more into like sports and stuff than Morgan.
And Morgan's just a little sweaty gamer.
Yeah.
But so we opened all our presents and we'd got a PlayStation 3. And obviously, I'm not going to be upset when I get a PlayStation 3. I'm obviously going to be very happy about that. I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't get a quad bike. And then we went through into the kitchen. There was a quad bike in the kitchen. So our mum and dad had absolutely spoiled us to bits and got both. So I don't know if you remember that Christmas very well, Max, because I think you were quite young.
But what I do know is that PS3 was probably one of the... I know it wasn't aimed at me.
But it was one of your favourites anyway.
Yeah.
Is that on one of your 5 then? Is that going to be one of your 5 favourite Christmas presents?
I'm not sure if I could have 5, but I could have a few. So, there's that. There's also... I got the Nintendo Switch I got for my birthday, so that doesn't count. We could talk about birthdays though, but
actually,
anyway.
Max, we'll just do presents in general rather than Christmas presents.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Obviously, because it's all a part of growing up. So yeah, top 5 presents in general. So you've got PlayStation 3, Nintendo Switch. What's your other 3?
My other 3 is me and Morgan one year got to join 3D TV. It was the coolest thing ever because what was I don't think it was an official 3D TV, but it was a big TV with a 3D setting.
Yeah.
It was quality. I remember watching Star Wars: The Phantom Menace in 3D, and it looked cool. Jar Jar Binks in 3D.
How many times did you actually use the 3D feature though?
I'm not
Like
gonna comment.
twice. Not gonna comment. A good one.
No comment. The Hobbit I watched in 3D once. I actually remember watching Hobbit in 3D. Hobbit.
So 3D telly. Have you got 2 more presents?
It's weird when you put on the spot. You kind of.
I know. I didn't ask you this one beforehand, did I?
Oh,
so.
the game, the Sims 4, I played a lot.
Oh yeah, Sims 4. You love that.
I remember that Christmas really well because basically you create like characters and then it's kind of like you play in life. But we recreated our family that Christmas when we got it, and Morgan was so accurate. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. I've got a picture of Morgan, the Sim version of Morgan, and if I'm able to, I will put a picture of that up on the video now, so obviously everyone can see Max's piece of art that he made that represented Morgan Hall, who's obviously our middle brother, if nobody knew that.
Who isn't on the podcast today, but will be listening.
Yeah, maybe one day we can get his expertise on things.
Maybe as a guest.
As a guest, yeah, we can quiz him. But anyway, Max, moving on from presents, we are going on to the topic of, we're going on to holidays. Yeah, so we've got good stories. So obviously we've been to quite a few places. Do you want to name some of those places, Max?
So very early years, the first holidays I remember is Devon. We'd go to Devon a lot. We'd
cottage, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we've also been to Butlins a few times. Like holiday was everyone's Butlins. Haven as well, which is also like Butlins. Countries involve Turkey, Malta, Majorca, which is like a Spanish island, I think, or something. Portugal. I've been to France to go to Disneyland with performing arts. You've also been to France with school. You've been to Barcelona with school.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much, you've covered it all there well.
I have some good memories of Devon. Let's talk about Devon first because we stop in the same cottage each year.
Pretty much, yeah. It's the same place.
That was near this play centre place, and it had the coolest slides ever. It had like deck slides.
Oh, you're on about Woodlands?
Yeah, Woodlands.
Oh, we have these really steep death slides. If you don't know what a death slide is, I'll put some pictures in now. But basically, they're so scary. And I remember last time we went, I went on the biggest one as well. And obviously, not jumped off, but like pushed myself off it. And obviously, the adrenaline rush you get from that, oh my days, it's scary. Like
we went about a year ago, just like for the nostalgia and stuff. And
I think honestly, a couple of years ago we've been, but yeah, we've not been for a while before that, had we?
No, and there's some great memories. I remember Morgan when he was like 3, went to like the tallest death slide, and it was like dangling from the top.
Yeah.
Like his welly is like hanging down.
Hanging down from the death slide. And Mum and Dad's like, where's Morgan? And then he's just there hanging and like, no, what's he doing?
Where there's the shot of the people like, where's this person? And then it shows you and they're turning around, it's like, there's hanging down from a death slide.
Yeah. So obviously Woodland's really good. Was it Woodlands where? Can you remember? I think Dad had dropped his keys.
Oh, yeah, that was recently.
Was that
Dad always
Woodlands or was that like somewhere else?
that was Woodlands. Dad always does this thing where he like pretends he dropped his keys, so we
Yeah,
never
he
got
always does this thing. Every time we go to a Wednesday match, and before we're walking into the stadium, he'll go, Have you got a ticket?" And I'll be like, "Shut up, you idiot! You've got the tickets. I know you have." And he does it every time. And then when he got to the car this time, he went, "Oh, Kay, it was our mum obviously. Kay, have you got the car keys?" And she was like, "I have, very good." And then he was like, "No, seriously, have you got the car keys?" And we all thought he was joking for like ages. And then he was like, "No, I'm not joking." And he had to literally just run and go and look for them because they're in that like play centre, weren't they? In like the locker, weren't they? I think that's
Yeah,
why they found them.
they were returned to reception or some, and then they left it on the block. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't there. I was in the car. That's weird because they actually turned out to be spare keys, but you still need your keys.
Yeah.
It's still very important you have your keys. It's one of the worst things to lose.
Yeah, it is. So, Max, how about holidays abroad? So we've got the first holiday abroad we went on was Turkey. Went to Bodrum in Turkey.
Where I spent most of Turkey on this little boat, and then
Yeah.
I was 4, and I screamed every time someone splashed water at me.
Yeah, you didn't want to get pulled, did you? So we got you like a little Lilo boat thing. So you just ride about on that for a bit, and then people were splashing you, and you were screaming at them like, "Ow!"
And I just sat under my towel watching.
Yeah, you didn't even enjoy the sun. You were just sat underneath your towel watching films all week.
We have a really funny memory from Turkey.
Yeah, so on the way back, it was at the airport on the way back. Do you want to tell the story, Max, or shall I?
I'll start. Basically, so you know a DS, it can run out of charge and stuff, and when it runs out of charge, the light kind of flashes red, flashing really fast, so it looks. So to some people who don't know what a DS is, it could look like a dangerous device, like a bomb. Yeah. So basically, we were in the airport in the security bit, the part where there's no messing around. You have to be very serious. And I'd left my DS on. It was running out of charge and it was doing this flashing.
And it went through the scanner, didn't it? Where it shows what's in the suitcase, whatever it is. And obviously they saw this thing that was flashing. So can you remember what else happened, Max?
And they're like, "What is this?" And they thought it was some sort of bomb or something, and Mum had to explain. She had opened it up.
Yeah, can you remember? Because they'd all got obviously if you go abroad, the airports are quite different, and in Turkey it's very different. So they're all these big men, and they had like machine guns, obviously armed with machine guns ready. And there were like 3 or 4 of these men all piled around our suitcase. We're like, "What's going on here?" And they all had a gun aimed at our suitcase. We were like, what's going on? Put something in our suitcase. And then they were made, I think it was Mum, they made one of us open the suitcase and they were like, "What's this?" Because the DS were flashing. And then Max was like, "I have the DS." And my mum had to explain to a group of Turkish security who probably didn't speak the best of English what a Nintendo DS was and why it was flashing, and it was all safe. But we got there in the end, didn't we?
Yeah, I don't know how.
No, that
so
was very...
I probably didn't even fully understand the situation.
No, you didn't.
How bad it could have gotten.
But Max, what was your favourite holiday out of all of them?
Oh, I think not Turkey because I was a bit young and I didn't really go out in the sun much. So
yeah,
there were some good memories. There were some funny memories, but I was a bit young. Didn't really, yeah. Mallorca. I remember. Yeah, Mallorca was actually pretty good.
Mallorca was good. The beach was really good, wasn't it?
Oh, the beach. I think that must have been the best day, but only if there wasn't jellyfishes.
Yeah. Everywhere. Oh, yeah, jellyfish were there were warnings about jellyfish.
Yeah,
So,
like
yeah,
because Auntie Amanda, I think, got stung, or Mum got stung, or something, or
yeah.
both of them, something like that.
So what was your favourite then?
Probably I remember that water park we went to in
Oh, in Malta. That was good, weren't it?
Malta, and it was a 10-day holiday. Mallorca was also a 10-day holiday. It was either Mallorca or Malta because they were long holidays,
Yeah,
and I was a bit older, so
yeah.
I understood that. I was like, I appreciated it. I forgot a thing that we forgot to mention in Malta. That other funny story, including the pool.
Oh, yeah. So, do you want to tell it or me, Max? Malta.
You tell this one. I told the other funny story.
Alright.
You tell.
So
I think.
basically, when we're on holiday, we like to obviously have a bit of fun. We usually get like an inflatable ball or something so we can play with it in the pool. And it was me, you, Morgan, and Dad, wasn't it? Where we were playing a game where we were trying to keep the ball up. Yeah.
I like splashing, diving, and keep that in mind. We'll dive in, we'll splash in. Keep that in
Yeah.
mind.
So in this game, we were trying to keep the ball up whilst doing all sorts of other things. So like we're just trying to keep it up. Then Morgan is like jump out the pool and then dive back into the pool and like get a touch of the ball or head the ball or and we just be.
There was also a guy in a hot tub like laughing at us, and now I think I understand why he found it so funny.
Yeah, so we're basically we didn't want to cause such a ruckus in the main outdoor pool, so there's like a little pool inside, which was actually a spa pool, which we didn't particularly know at the time, but we knew there was an inside pool and nobody was in it, apart from there was a hot tub in the corner and there was one guy just sat chilling in the hot tub, just watching us, but we didn't mind. So we were just like chucking this ball about, we were jumping in the pool, cannonballing, diving, splashing each other, causing just absolute ruckus, screaming, shouting. And then basically, on the way out of the pool, thankfully no one else was in there with us. On the way out, we saw a sign that said, "This is a spa pool. Please, no ball games, no splashing, no jumping, no screaming and shouting. Be quiet, be respectful."
He had just done.
Yeah, be quiet, be respectful, and just basically just chill because it's a spa pool, and we'd just done everything that it had asked us not to do. So yeah,
well, that was a
Dad got in trouble about that from Mum, didn't he? But we were alright. But yeah, moving on from holidays, I've just remembered another funny story involving you, Max. You may not remember because you were small at the time, but you've been told many occasions about this story.
I've been told more than I'd like to be, but.
So, just for the context, this is when we were all very little. I think Max must not have been very little. Max couldn't even talk at this time, so he couldn't walk, couldn't talk.
I was one.
So Max was a baby, and you know when you're little, your mum and dad obviously help you with the bath. They bath you, and me and Morgan were both in the bath. So like, I do stress this was a long time ago when we were little. This was not last week. Me and Morgan in the bath, obviously, and Mum were like washing her hair, whatever. Then Dad comes in the bathroom with a naked Max, obviously ready to get in the bath when there's room. And then Dad thought it was a good idea to like hover Max above Morgan's head and bounce him up and down and start.
I then decided that it would be a good idea to do my business.
Yeah, so Dad started singing "Poo on his head, poo on his head" as a joke. And what did you do, Max?
I did exactly that.
Yep, Max pooed on Morgan's head. Little Morgan, I remember a mixture of joy and horror struck inside me as that happened before my very eyes. But yeah, it could have been me. So I'm grateful it was not. And Max's poo running down Morgan's face was not a pretty fat sight, but it was a very memory.
We were young, very young.
Yeah, and it's only happened on that one occasion, thankfully. Apart from that other time, but we don't talk about that. I'm joking. It's a joke. So, anyway, Max, I'm gonna move on to the final topic of today's podcast of the Childhood Podcast. Yes,
Yeah. And
and it is TV shows. So obviously, growing up, you get bored. You want to watch TV shows. So
we'd been watching stuff on Nickelodeon,
yeah, Disney Channel.
mainly Nickelodeon, some stuff on demand, so like stuff from Disney XD and CITV.
Yeah,
We didn't really watch anything on CBBC, but
don't get CBeebies.
CBBS when we're very
So,
young.
we've got Max. I asked you this beforehand, so I'm expecting you to come with a precise list, and I want your top 5 in order from 5th to 1st.
Did you?
Favorite childhood TV shows. So
Okay. Number 5, please. Drum roll. Phineas and Ferb.
Phineas and Ferb. What's number 4, Max?
I think you'd have this higher if you did a list. Drum roll, please. Drake and Josh.
Drake and Josh, number 4.
Yeah,
Which
it's
one's
about
your favourite?
favorite episode. Isn't the one where they're like the one where they're stuck in the tree house?
Oh,
That's
yeah,
a good
one. Who's
and
favourite character?
Josh.
Right. So, what is your number 3, Max?
This one is actually what I watched when I was a lot younger, but it took me ages to think of this, but it is Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo, the classic.
It's classic Scooby-Doo. I mean, this was a lot younger age. All of these are younger age to now, obviously. Like, these are all shows I watched below the age for like 11,
Yeah.
10. Below those ages.
Yeah.
And Scooby-Doo, everyone knows what Scooby-Doo is. I'm just going to explain why it was so good. It was kind of, it never took itself too seriously. Like, the monsters were never actually monsters. They were just like guys like, oh, these meddling kids. And it was such a silly and such a funny show. But number 2.
Number 2,
Before I give number 2, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yes, SpongeBob is number 2. Everyone knows what SpongeBob is. And I think SpongeBob, it's so good, but you could watch it now and enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's such a quality show. I think the best character was Mr. Krabs.
Mr. Krabs. What about his daughter, the whale? How did that happen?
Yeah, his daughter's a whale. He's a crab. It's a funny show.
How did that happen? I'll never know.
Is it still running?
Crab Day. I don't know, to be honest.
It is. It's got to be. It's classic. There was also a film which was also amazing.
But anyway, now it's time for the moment of truth, Max. Ready?
Wait, before I give number 1, I'm going to give a few honourable mentions, I think.
Okay.
Just for anticipation.
Yeah.
There were some other good shows, like one's like Victorious, which was like Drake and Josh, about a bunch of high school kids who were like at a performing arts school.
Yeah.
The best character of that was Psycho Wits, which is like this crazy teacher guy who was addicted to coconuts.
Yeah.
Another honourable mention.
That's not a euphemism.
That's not a euphemism. Sorry, euphemism. Billy and Mandy. It's a random one.
Oh, yeah.
It was a cartoon about a couple of kids, and also there's a Grim Reaper. Death himself. The Grim Reaper was in it. It was a good show. Also, Amazing World of Gumball.
Oh,
that was a weird show, and like
really
there was
weird.
Each character was like a different kind of animation.
That was really odd.
That was a really odd show. I bet some people would have really not liked that show, but anyway, I think it's time for number 1.
Come on, Max. Wait, let me take a guess, yeah? First, I think it's going to be Wonder Pets.
That could be an honourable mention, though.
You used to like that. Anyway, what's number 1, Max?
on momentum. That was a good show that I watched. That was like 2. Anyway, number 1, and Thomas Tank Engine as well. Anyway, number 1, Pokemon.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, of course you're gonna put Pokemon at number 1. You love it.
Loved it, right? I haven't seen it in a few years. I don't know what Ash Ketchum is up to now, but it was based off of the games, but they
Games are
always
good, yeah.
say did, and it had some quality characters in it. Brock made that show.
Brock was
He
quality. Fancied everyone, didn't he?
yeah,
Reminds me of a few people.
and but they never fancied him. It
No,
was
that reminds me
and
of a few people.
even Dad enjoyed Pokemon, and I watched Pokemon from like the age of 4 to like
Yeah.
11. Such a good show.
We used to watch it before school all the time. 'Cause it used to be on at like
Yeah.
8 until 8:20, and our house was quite close to the school, so we could walk to school within that 10 minutes when it finished. But then when you get to secondary school,
You have
you have to get the bus, and the bus comes at 10 to 8. So when I moved to secondary school, I remember being gutted that I could no longer watch Pokemon with you lot in the morning.
Quality show. I think that's all we've got time for in today's podcast.
Yeah. So Max, I'm gonna give the decision over to you now. Then got a few things you can pick from. What's going to be the main topic next podcast?
I don't know.
I don't know. Do you want me to decide?
Yeah, you decide. I'll decide next time because I wasn't thinking about this. I was thinking about what we were talking at the time. I
Right.
have no time to think about.
Max, I'll give you a few topics, Max, and I'll let you choose. Yeah.
All right.
So it can either be theme parks, games, films, TV shows, or food.
Games could be a good
Games.
one.
Yeah, video games as well as board games.
Oh yeah, just games in general.
Yeah, games in general.
There might be some unique things in there as well because I've got a couple of ideas like really random where it's not a game or a board game, it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
You know what I'm on about, Jude?
Not a clue, but I'm excited to find out.
Anyway, yeah, that'll be next. I think we'll make one whenever we feel like it, and yeah.